Now that we have briefly examined the Pro-E interface, it's time to get down to business and start creating our first part. We will begin by constructing the simple part shown on the screen. We will start this process by sketching a two-dimensional profile on a datum plane and then extruding this profile in a perpendicular direction. After starting the program, we will begin by closing both the navigator and browser panes. We'll now click on the Create a New Object icon, and then make sure that the radio buttons are set to Part and Solid, and then key in the name Block. Now we'll turn off the option to use the default template, and then click the OK button. In response to the New File Options window, we will click on the Empty option and then select the OK option. We will now create a set of reference planes by clicking on the Datum Plane Tool icon. Pro-E calls these datum planes. You can think of these as the three planes that exist at the origin of the three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system. The datum planes are now shown at their default orientation. At this orientation, the positive side of each datum plane is visible. Pro-E visually indicates the positive side of a datum plane with the color brown. However, the DTM3 datum plane is shown in red because it was the last feature created and is therefore still selected. We will left-click the mouse now to unselect it. Datum planes are often used for orientation purposes. As we previously mentioned, the planes are now shown in brown because we are looking at their positive side. Let's now take a look at the other side of one of these datum planes. We will do this by holding down the middle mouse button and dragging the mouse to the right. As we can see, the back side of the DTM1 datum plane is shown in black. We will now use the Saved View List icon in order to restore the view to its default orientation. Let's take another brief look at how the concept of orientation with datum planes can be envisioned. Pro-E will often reposition a view based on the direction in which the positive side of a datum plane is pointing. A normal vector emanating from the positive side of one of the datum planes, as shown here, illustrates the direction that the datum plane is pointing. As your models get more complex, you will occasionally want to remove the datum planes from the display. This is done by using the Shortcut button as shown here. This does not delete the datum planes, but only removes them from the current display. By clicking on the Shortcut button again, the datum planes will be returned to the display. We are now ready to construct the first solid feature of our part by sketching its profile on the DTM3 datum plane and then extruding it the desired depth. In order to begin this process, we will first select the DTM3 datum plane and then click on the Sketched Datum Curve tool icon. Notice in the new window that has just opened that DTM3 is listed as our sketching plane and DTM1 is listed as our reference plane and the direction is listed as right. This means that during the sketching of our profile, the view will be reoriented so that the imaginary normal vector emanating from the positive side of the DTM1 reference plane will be pointing toward the right side of the screen. Also, the yellow arrow that is attached to the DTM3 sketching plane indicates the direction in which we will be viewing the sketch plane. Since these indicated planes and directions appear to be correct, we'll now click on the Sketch button in order to activate Sketcher. As you can see, the screen now has a black background and the datum planes have been reoriented so that DTM3 is parallel to the screen. In addition, two dashed lines are displayed on the edges of the DTM1 and DTM2 datum planes. Pro-E has automatically selected these two datum planes to serve as references to the geometric shape we will be sketching as indicated in the reference window. We'll now select the Create 2-Point Lines icon in order to sketch lines that form a rectangle. A series of lines will be created as shown here by clicking the left mouse button at the end of each line. Notice that the cursor snaps to the reference lines when it gets close to them, and that Pro E is automatically defining horizontal and vertical constraints as we sketch the rectangle. After sketching the last line, we will press the middle mouse button to stop the process of drawing lines. Notice that Pro E has automatically dimensioned our rectangle. Since these are not the correct dimensional values, we will now click the middle mouse button a second time to activate the Select Item mode, and then double-click on each dimension and change it to the correct value. We will now click on the fillet icon, and then click on the two lines shown here to define a fillet, and then repeat the process to define a second fillet. Next, we'll activate the selection mode and then double-click on each fillet dimension and change it to the desired value. Since this completes the profile of our feature, we will click on the Continue icon. With the sketched curve still highlighted, we will now select the Extrude Tool icon. Pro E has now automatically extruded our sketched profile. However, we must change the depth value to the desired value of 30 units. And finally, click on the check mark icon to accept the feature.